Hi, this is Janet Wakeland with RemARKablyCreated.com and the Remarkable Stampers, bringing you yet another edition of my Digital Studio Monday. Today's snippet is just very short, but we wanted to look at the opacity tool and some of the options that that provides for you. On the screen, you're going to see a picture of our new sweet little puppy T, and you're going to see that the photo in the background is extremely muted. Had I not used the opacity tool, this is what that page looks like. I'll put them side by side for you, so you can see there. What the opacity tool does, and let's just go ahead and click on that background folder, a background photo I dropped in. You just grab it, and what it does is it just starts to allow light to come through it. So it goes from being solid to being opaque, and it's just going to lighten it up. A little tip when you are doing this, if you're doing this with a photo, you don't want a drop shadow or a matte behind it, because that will just kind of really distort the colors of the photo and just makes it really funky. So you just want to use a solid photo if you're doing that. And again, you're just working down here on the lower right hand corner on the opacity tool, just adjusting it the way that you want it to be. So photos is one way that we see this used a lot, because again, that creates those really stunning full background pages, literally designer paper out of your photos. So that's one option that you have. Let me go ahead and pull up my other page here that I have done, where I use the opacity tool as an option. Another thing is sometimes you want a very specific shade of an object or a stamp or an embellish, something like that. Mostly a stamp, because we can change the color of our stamp. And there's not a color in your photo to match it to, and you just need that color because it's the creative intent that you have in your mind. And so here with the cogs up here, the actual color that this is, if I went ahead, you can see it's down here at 40% opacity. If I put it back to full on intensity, you can see the color that that started at. But for the purpose of my photo, I wanted something that was lighter, that didn't take away from the photos. I'm a big believer that the photos should be what catch your eye, not the embellishments or the stamps or whatever. When I look at a page, I want to see the photos first, and then everything else is designed for me anyway to enhance that photo. So I wanted, again, the cog to be there, but I wanted it to be softer or whatever, however you want to say that, to complement the photo. Another way that we use the opacity tool, again here on the 2000, if I went ahead and I took that back to full capacity, and if I had left the 2000 like that, when I put the word December over top of it, which I wanted in gray to match the New York City, it wouldn't have shown up very well. And so a lot of times we use the opacity tool also as a layering tool, so that we can go ahead and put things behind something and they still both show up and they still complement each other. So you're going to find the opacity tool. Let's just start up here for just a second with our design center. You do not have the opacity, you have the opacity even with your designer papers, and let me show you real quick what that looks like. Let's just insert a page, and I'm sorry I didn't have this done ahead of time for you. So let's just go ahead and insert our blank page. And let's go ahead and grab a piece of designer paper. There we go. And again, this will change the intensity of your paper. You can create really fun effects by layering one paper over another and allowing the grid underneath to show through. You can also layer your photos over background papers and again start to change the opacity of your photos. So you can just really start to play and do some fun things. But here under background papers, again, I can start to change the opacity of that so I can lighten it. So again, you're going to be able to see some things through that by doing something like that. And just for fun, just to show you what I'm talking about, let's see if this is going to work. Just a photo that's just going to be on here. But if I took my photo and I started to just lighten it, you can see where the paper comes through. You can almost start, depending on some of your designer papers, creating watercolor effects and things like that. So again, under your design center, you can indeed lighten the opacity of your papers. Your photos, you can do the same thing as you saw with Keith's photo. You can change your opacity there. With your text, you can also change your opacity. So you're just looking for that opacity tool that's down there in the lower right-hand corner. With your embellishments, you can change your opacity. So you want your ribbon to be softer. You want something that, again, look like it's behind the other without actually putting it behind the other. You're going to change the opacity. Your punches, so the reality is you can change the opacity whether or not you can see through it, the shading of it, the depth of the color, the richness of the color by simply using the opacity tool. So watch for some other fun things as we start to play a little bit more with that. But for right now, the biggest ways that you're seeing this used is by creating softer backgrounds on your pages, as you can see the difference here versus this one. And then also with your stamped images so that you can place one over top of the other as I did here. So have fun playing and creating, and happy Monday. Take care and God bless.